Live from the heart of Baylor Bear Country, the most comprehensive pregame coverage. This is Game Day Live, powered by Sikkim 365 and KWTX News 10.
At 101 Elm Avenue on the corner of MLK and also Elm, and about a mile or so, just a little west of McLean Stadium and on the west side of I-35. Good morning. I'm David Smoak. Paul Catalina out today. Craig Smoak with me. Garrett Ross running the mothership. We appreciate everybody and what they do to get us on the air, along with, of course, the great staff at KWTX. We'll hear from Darby Brown in a moment from McLean Stadium. We'll give you the top 25 schedule. There was one game last night. We'll give that to you now. Miami had a very controversial ending, beat Virginia Tech 38-34 on a touchdown pass caught in the back of the end zone, ruled a touchdown, and then overturned. We'll discuss that call here in just a minute. Also look at the Big 12. Hear from Kalani Sitake, BYU head coach. Hear from Dave Aranda from Baylor, and a couple of players today as well. We'll hear from them. But Craig Smoak, this is a meeting. They haven't played a lot. They played a couple of times in the 80s, and then, of course, 2021. Baylor winning here when they had that fantastic team, then losing double overtime to BYU. Here are two different stories, two teams that struggled last year. BYU has looked very good so far. Baylor has been hit and miss, and boy, do they need a win.
Yeah, they desperately need a win. I don't know what happens after this game today if they don't get a win. They have not won a meaningful home game in about 2 years' time at this point. They are 0-9 in their last 9 against top 25 teams. They don't beat anybody that matters, and they haven't in a couple of years. And they have not won a conference game at home in a couple of years. They have now put themselves potentially behind the 8 ball or put themselves in a tougher situation by not closing that game against Colorado last week. And I could go on being what some might perceive as negative, but those are just stone-cold facts. You have not beaten anybody worth of salt in about 2 years, and you haven't done it on your home field in that time as well. And because of that Colorado game last week, the mood entering this game is a lot different than would have been had there not been that rally by Colorado at the end of last week. So you could have been rolling in here 3-1 and feeling good, but now there's an extra pressure because you couldn't seal the deal, and now you're trying to not go 2-3. And also on top of that, this is your last home game in about a month because you will go to Iowa State, and then you will get a break, and then you will go back and play. Oh, gosh, now I'm blanking on it. But they've got 2 of their next 3 are road games, including an open week, and then they come back in about a month against Oklahoma State. So this is the last time they're going to be in front of their home crowd. You just hope it's something that leaves a good taste in their mouth, because if not, that's just going to be more of a very troubling pattern for Dave Aranda.
Well, Garrett, on his way over here to the studio, driving down I-35 and went by University High School, which is off of I-35, a little bit off to the right if you're headed north, and saw a massive contingent of BYU fans tailgating as they get ready for the game. Back in 2021, there was a lot of stories that were circling because the Big 12 was trying to react to the loss of Texas and Oklahoma, and they did by adding Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU, who happened to be playing that year here in Waco, and they had a massive crowd that they brought that was at Brazos East, which is off of the kind of an inlet of the Brazos River, and they put themselves together a ton of fans. So they will be there loud with their blue at the stadium. Darby Brown is, in fact, at the stadium. Darby, great to see you. Appreciate your time. And I got a feeling, and also it's one of the – I don't know if this is the first time we've played a game. We've seen Baylor play right after our pregame, so I'm sure you have activity behind you rather than what we've had so far before.
Yeah, you guys, it's really refreshing. The fireworks just went off, so the team should be here shortly, but they're set up for the Bear Walk out here, so fans are in sight. As you mentioned, I've seen a good amount of BYU fans, but behind me, obviously, all green and gold, getting ready for this Bear Walk this morning. So, yeah, 11 a.m. game, good for our showtime, different energy, so it's all good so far.
Darby, how badly do you think this team needs a win? I mean, obviously last week was really tough, but it's been a long time since they've done something meaningful at home. It's just kind of a combination that's brewing that really screams to me that they need to perform well and win this game today.
Yeah, Craig, I was listening to you at the top of the show, and I was kind of laughing, but everything you were saying is 100% true. I mean, it is, I think, they need to win a meaningful game. They have a good opportunity this morning, and they have a home crowd, which they have not really performed well for when it matters. And they could do all of that this morning here. So definitely, I feel like, especially after the sting of what was last week's loss, this is a great opportunity for them to show up here this morning, and we'll see if they can do that.
Darby, you were in Boulder for what happened last week, and I know they have to clear it, whether they had won that game or not, and, of course, covering the team throughout the week. Did you see any hangover at all from what happened Saturday night late in Boulder?
I think there was, at least in some of the interviews with the players, there definitely was some truth that it was weighing on them a little bit. Oh, look, I have a guest this morning. Here we go. Good morning. Yeah. So I think that they were feeling a little bit down, but I think that they definitely shifted their focus as much as they could and got ready to go. And Bruiser, I guess he agrees with me, so that's great.
You want to do an interview with Bruiser? Is that right there? I mean, go ahead.
I don't think that would go too well, but yeah.
Darby, what do you want to see from them today? I mean, we've seen some good, some bad, some ugly. What is on your mind as we get ready to watch them here in a little while?
I think from the defense, they've shown that there's been some great improvements into this season. They have a great opportunity today to really show up, be physical, and kind of impose their will on BYU. As far as offense, I'm not, 100% sure what we're going to see, but I think, they have things moving. And so it's just a matter of kind of putting it all together and not hurting themselves, I think, when it comes down to it. That's obviously something that, I think if they get ahead, stay a foot on the gas and don't bury yourself there early. So all of those things, I just would like to see them respond. I think, as we talked about, the players were down. It was a very pretty gutting loss, understandably. And now can they bounce back? Can they show back up here this morning in front of their home crowd?
I was listening to a pregame show on, Thursday night. The Cowboys were playing the Giants, and Babe Laufenberg, former NFL quarterback, does their color with Brad Sham. And he considers what is a must-win, Darby, and especially when you have like the NFL version of either you win or you're out of the playoffs. And a must-win is only in a point where you have to win or you're eliminated. In college football, you can sit there and say eliminated this and that, and Baylor's already lost twice. So there's no college football playoff for them. However, they can still be, if they make a miracle run, a chance to play for a Big 12 title. That's not on the horizon, it appears. But do you think that today against BYU, for the fragility of this team and program, is a must-win?
I do think it's a must-win, and I certainly think it's a must-compete. They cannot get embarrassed today. They need to make this a good game, and I do think it could be considered a must-win. I mean, it's things are, I don't want to say fragile around here, but somewhat. I mean, it isn't just smooth sailing by any means. So I do agree with you in that there is a way where this game is something that they need to pull out today. And as you mentioned, the world is really ahead of them if they win this game, if they start to string together some wins. The Big 12 is kind of open this year, it seems. So we got the buses rolling in right now, so the players are about to walk out behind me.
One more thing from you on Sawyer Robertson. Dave Aranda has not just come out and said he's our guy, but he's already basically come out and said he's our guy. Your thoughts about how this transition has worked for Baylor and Sawyer Robertson?
I think Sawyer has been great. I mean, obviously I understand why they went with Finn, and they felt like he was going to give them their best shot, but injuries happen, things happen. They gave Sawyer a great opportunity, and I think he really showed up and stepped up to the plate. So it is interesting that he hasn't just come out and said he's our guy. I agree, but the more he gets the starting spot here, that'll become more and more obvious. But I think the guys like Sawyer. He's always had a good, leadership type relationship with his teammates, whether it's, on the field and off the field. You hear about some of those things. So I think you can see some of that go out there on the field as well.
All right, you're leaving. KWTX to go to Boston.
That's not going.
You've been amazing with what you've done. I know Josh Young brought you with him from Midland, and you're now leaving. Your thoughts about the emotions of this weekend with you?
Yeah, very emotional, very bittersweet. Just kind of being out here this morning, it feels kind of surreal. I have loved being in Waco, loved covering Baylor. It's been a blast the last 5 years. You mentioned Josh. He was the one that really brought me to Waco, and everyone I've worked with at KWTX has been amazing. And then obviously all the coaches, players, everyone I've worked with, and then you guys too. I love this partnership with you guys, been able to do these shows with you. So thank you so much for letting me hop on your shows and working with me. And it's been such an awesome run. So thank you all.
All right, enjoy the day. And you've been a pro, and we've loved the fact you've been a part of what we do during Game Day Live and some other coverage, road and also on the road in Boulder last week and now at home. We will get more about Baylor and also BYU, the series itself. Also hear from two players, Hal Presley, the wide receiver, and linebacker Keaton Thomas. What BYU does is pretty much the same thing every week. The quarterback, Retzloff, is very efficient. The defense has been very stingy, and they've had some big plays with the special teams. That's how they won and beat the hell out of Kansas State, in fact, last week in a shocking overall score, 38-9. When we come back, we'll hear from a couple of players. Garrett Ross, keys of the game. We'll hear from Kalani Sitake and more on Game Day Live right here on KWTX and 365 Sports.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by Central Texas Plumbing Solutions and Bird Colgin Ford.
Discover the thrill of electric-powered cycling at eBike Central. We have over 7 UL-rated brands and over 10 bikes for under $1,000.
Come see our large in-stock inventory.
And take your e-bike home today.
eBikeCentralTX.com.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to care for our patients to improve their health and their quality of life, whether it's the teeth, the gums, the bite, or the smile.
Because I didn't feel anything at all. When I woke up there, I had everything done. I go to the restaurant to eat, and the waitress said this, "You got new teeth." So they noticed them too. If you want something done that is good and permanent, this is the place to go.
The right call can make all the difference on and off the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. When it's that time for your next car, truck, or SUV, Bird Colgin Ford is the right call. Check out the F-150, America's #1 truck, 47 years in a row. Now with 3.9 for 60, plus additional savings. Make the right call with your next vehicle at Bird Colgin Ford. Experience better at BK Ford.
Discover the thrill of electric-powered cycling at eBike Central. We have over 7 UL-rated brands and over 10 bikes for under $1,000.
Come see our large in-stock inventory.
And take your e-bike home today.
eBikeCentralTX.com.
You will kick off at just after 11 o'clock. Craig, this team, it's I don't know if it's fragile, but obviously it's put together right now by threads and pins and needles because of what happened in Boulder. It might have been that way anyway. I can't imagine, and you brought this up, what this team will be like if they cannot win this game. And then going forward, how the fan base will react to this if they don't come away with a heck of a game today, win or not, but they have to look like a football team.
Yeah, and I think they have to win. I think they have to win to soothe over any ill will towards the performance last week or just in general. Dave Aranda's got his detractors, and while I personally don't go full on board with those folks, I do understand where they're coming from because it's been a long 2 years of not very meaningful football. I ran down some of the stats about the lackluster performances at home, the lackluster performances against ranked teams and teams that matter, and it all adds up. I mean, that 2021 championship was a long time ago now at this point. It was one thing when you were a year removed from it. It was another thing when you're 2 years removed from it, and now they're looking at, going into 3 years after that, where if things don't turn around, you're looking at just very mediocre to bad football. And so I think it's imperative to put on a good show, but I think it's important that they win this game. I'll keep saying it, and I think you start talking about the fragile nature. There's been too much of that. When are we going to get past, is this the most fragile team in America?
Well,
my God, we've been talking about emotions and being psyched out and this and that for 2 years, and, it's one thing you got a young football team. Okay. It's another thing that you play teams that are just better than you. Okay. But, How long are we going to be in psychology class here? Like, I'm just sick of it.
Well, could that also be kind of a representation of Dave Aranda being a little bit of a psychologist in the way he talks about business?
Well, and that's just more wood to throw on the pile and the fire that's growing, because that's just not cutting it, obviously. So if that's where it's coming from, then that's just not going to get it done, because it hasn't got it done, and it hasn't got it done for a couple of years. So I'm kind of over every week, like, having to almost, in a way, feel like I need to hype this team up, or everybody else has to hype this team up. I feel like the good teams are able to do that themselves. They don't get psyched out by playing at home. They don't tighten up in close games, and that's the things that have cost this team. And so today, I mean, it's now or never. It really is for this team and for this regime, because you get in 2 and 3, and I mentioned it. You got Iowa State next week.
Yeah,
okay, we thinking they're going to win that game? No, I'm not. No. Then you've got a bye week, and then you've got Texas Tech in Lubbock. So, it's an important game today to win.
Get over your feelings and go play football. Play free and easy. Win a game. The crowd would love it. And obviously, Dave Aranda and the company and program need it badly. Here are comments from linebacker Keaton Thomas and wide receiver Harold Presley ahead of today's game with BYU.
Been the mood in the team the last couple games, last couple days after the ending like that?
Sunday, it was kind of just a meditation day, like reflect on what happened. Obviously, we weren't, super happy about the ending, but we fought hard, we played hard, and I think hopefully that everybody and the fans back at home watching realize what this team is capable of. And then yesterday, it was a great day. Everybody's feeling good. We have a great opportunity to play a really good team this weekend, so we're just looking forward to Saturday.
How do you find the balance of rebounding from that loss, but not having to dwell on it too much and kind of moving ahead?
Simple. Saturday was Saturday. It's Tuesday now. It's on to the next Saturday. You can't think about the past too long. It's one day at a time and 1 week at a time, and that's what we're focused on this Saturday.
You had 8 sacks against Colorado as a team. We've heard a lot about BYU's offensive line being really good. So how do you prepare for that and try and build on that?
We had 8 sacks, but we should have had more. So that's the start, right? We got to make sure we finish on finishing strong, and when we're there, making sure that we make the sack. And so that's the focus this week. And, it's great competition that we have here on our line, so they're just going to help us prepare for their line. And that's pretty much the goal, sack-wise.
What have you seen from that offense, and what are you expecting other than that?
They're explosive, very disciplined. Obviously, it's an older group, so they've played with each other for a good bit. They have a couple of guys who transferred in who are really good players as well. So, I don't expect anything less but pure competition and grit from those guys. So I'm excited to play against them. And, I think if we do what we're supposed to do, that we have no problem competing against them.
How have you kind of come into your own over these last few games?
Just practicing hard, mental preparation, same as the physical. Making sure I'm watching tape, getting extra work when I can. In our new facility, we have this walk-through room. Coach Curtis told me I should maximize that, so that's what I've been doing recently. It's been helping a lot. Taking the visualization to in reality and be able to, match my fits and match my coverages off it. And so just, doing all those things and combining it has helped me a lot, I feel like, and I think it's helped the team out as well.
Coach Aranda talked yesterday about how y'all started slow against Utah and then kind of ended this past game poorly. How do y'all put it together for 4 quarters this weekend?
I think this weekend that's going to be our point of emphasis, making sure that we start fast and finish strong. I think once we do that, it's a 4-quarter game, and winning that middle 8 is going to be the most important piece. That last 4 until the half, and then opening half, that first 4, we win that, we win the game.
Special teams has been pretty dominant for y'all over the first 4 games. How much of a boost is that to the rest of the team when they're out there kind of?
100%. That's all phases. Special teams is just as important as offense and defense, and dominating that, and then going on the field and dominating on defense or dominating on offense. It's just it all works hand in hand. So you dominate that, and special teams is the first defense on the field. So it's just as important as everything else.
What kind of encouraging things have you seen from the offense these past 2 weekends?
I think that they've just been putting it all together. It was early in the season. They were still trying to figure out who they were, who their identity was, and now that I think we figured that out, we're fast, physical, and we play really hard, and I think that grit is going to take us far on the offensive side, and I'm really proud of those guys.
After a game like that, after the ending like that, how do you respond? What's been the mood on the team over the last couple days?
I feel like the mood is I'm gonna just speak on today. None of that came up in practice. We moved on because if you dwell on the loss and stuff like that, it's gonna fall into this week, and we need to, we need to win. You know what I'm saying? So, it's gone. Monday we were a little hurt. We talked about it, and just got it out the window, on to the next.
Coach Aranda mentioned that, last year losses like that kind of would have snowpiled, but this year he doesn't think that's going to be the case. Do you agree with that, and why is it different this year?
I really do agree with that. For one, I feel like it's just not gonna happen the same way because a lot of us are like finna leave, so it's like we can't do that. Like every game is like we have to make ourselves known. We have to get the win. Like a lot of us know that like the only way that we're gonna go to the league is if we win games. They want winners. They don't want losers. So a lot of that is going through our minds. So that's the difference.
What have you seen from Sawyer and like what he's doing?
Man, I've seen nothing but leadership from Sawyer. And it's not like he's faking it. Like, you can tell when somebody's a fake leader, you know what I'm saying? You can see straight through it. With him, I've always seen him as a leader, and he's doing a great job at it right now.
Against Utah, it's kind of a slow start. Against Colorado, kind of a slow end to the game. How do you all put it all together for 4 quarters this weekend?
I feel like just constantly having it in your mind that, like, you're doing it for, like, it's bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get tired, like, you got to think about your mom. You got to think about how hard she used to work. Like, my mom, she worked 2 jobs, so I don't have no time to think about, like, oh, I want to lay off on this, lay off on that. Like, I feel like that's the mindset. It's bigger than you. You got to do it for more than yourself. So,
what have you seen from BYU, and what are you guys expecting to see on Saturday?
They're a very great team. You know, I respect them a lot. They're gonna do everything right, so we're gonna have to come with our, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they're a great team, well coached. So, I'm happy to go against them. I'm ready.
Has kind of defending McLean and winning at home, has that been more of a focus this year?
I feel like winning in general is a focus. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Winning in McLean is great. We got to win everywhere. So that's what we want to do. Win every game we can. Yeah.
You got to go do it. And had what it looked like a nice win in Boulder until, of course, the last play of regulation and lost in overtime. Hal Presley, the wide receiver, and Keaton Thomas. When we come back, Garrett Ross keys to the game. BYU 4-0. They hammered Kansas State 38-9. Baylor 2-2 losses to Utah, a non-conference game, and then at Colorado to open up what is official Big 12 play. Garrett's keys to the game, and we hear from BYU football coach Kalani Sitake plus Baylor's Dave Aranda. Game Day Live.
Get ready, Baylor fans. The ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with the Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Make Camp Fimfo the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Fimfo Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown and Baylor University. Voted a #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Fimfo Waco.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8500 6533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back into Game Day Live. I'm Garrett Ross with today's Keys to the Game presented by Richard Carr Motors. Last week was really just kind of unacceptable if you're looking at it from a Baylor perspective. The Bears went into Boulder against Colorado, a team that when you look at the star powers, athlete for athlete, they did not match up with, but overall they were the more sound team, and they went toe-to-toe with the Buffaloes up there in Boulder on their homecoming night. Unfortunately for Baylor, we've seen what we've seen all years long. When the Bears get things rolling, they get in their own way. Like Colorado didn't necessarily beat Baylor. Baylor beat themselves ultimately at the end of this game. And that kind of leads to our first key to the game, because we've talked about turnovers all year long. Baylor has struggled with this, whether it was the first couple of games with DeQuan Finn at quarterback throwing interceptions. You look at that Air Force game where you had 3 different fumbles in the first half, and then you end the Colorado game with Dominic Richardson getting popped by Travis Hunter on the goal line, and he fumbles again, and Colorado recovers and seals the game. Like, this is something Baylor has got to clean up. They cannot continue to turn the ball over on a regular basis and expect to hang in games, especially when you're matched up with a top 25 foe like you're facing this week at BYU. BYU is very sound. They're going to capitalize on your turnovers, and Baylor cannot afford to have that this week, or else it's going to get ugly. It is going to get ugly for Baylor. Secondly, our next key to the game is going to be score touchdowns. Now, it's pretty simple. Baylor looked really good last week. Offensively, they put up huge numbers. But at the same time, that was against a Colorado defense who really isn't on anywhere near as good as BYU is. This BYU defense is really salty. They fly around. They cause turnovers like nobody's business. And they have not allowed opponent to score more than 15 points in a game on them since 1984. That's really remarkable. So Baylor's going to have to go toe-to-toe with the Cougs. They're going to have to find the end zone, and that's been a struggle for Baylor. We've seen them get into the red zone on offense multiple times this season and just haven't been able to punch it into the end zone for whatever reason. That's not going to fly against BYU. They're going to force you to bang with them, and you're going to have to get into the end zone because you cannot match them with field goals and expect to win this game. It's just simply not going to happen. And our final key to this game is going to be execute on special teams. If you look at what Baylor's been able to do in the kick return game and the punt return game, it's been arguably one of their better traits this season. You saw Jamal Bell run the 100-yard kickoff return last week. We've seen Josh Cameron on the punt returns. He ran 3 back last week for about 90 yards. He's also had plenty of other good ones this season, and that's really been the stronghold for Baylor. So they're going to need to capitalize on that, getting themselves in a good offensive field position to start those drives to try to make a push against this stout BYU defense. And on the flip side, you're going to have to really be sound in your coverage because BYU is dangerous in their attack. They have a really good kick returner themselves who earned Big 12 Player of the Week last week for what he was able to accomplish against Kansas State. And special teams are really going to be the ultimate factor when it comes down to this game. Baylor has got to capitalize on that. And if they don't, I don't know what you're going to be able to do. But that's going to do it for this week's Keys to the Game. I think Baylor has a sound game plan in place, but I don't know that they can necessarily hang with BYU. Under Aranda, Baylor has struggled mightily against top 25 opponents. They're on a 9-game losing streak against ranked teams that actually goes back to BYU in a game in Provo where the Bears lost a double overtime 26-20. This is a big game for David Aranda. This is going to really kind of tell us what to expect down the stretch for Baylor and kind of the future of what things are to come here in Waco. But best of luck to Baylor this week. Hope you enjoy the game. We'll be back with more Game Day Live right after this.
Bring home the cozy comforts of fall from Du Bois Furniture. You'll rake in the savings on all our beautiful furniture store-wide, plus additional in-store promotions and special financing. The styles you want at prices you love. Now at Du Bois Furniture.
Sunday, September 29th, the excitement of live pro wrestling comes to the Backyard Bar, Stage and Grill in downtown Waco as Hot Pro Wrestling presents Shoot to Thrill. See the World Breaker Brick Savage battle Barrett Brown in a no-ropes match that can only be decided by submission or knockout. Get your tickets now at hotprowrestling.com. That's hotprowrestling.com. VIP ticket holders get access to a meet and greet before the event. That's Shoot to Thrill, Sunday, September 29th at the Backyard in Waco. Be there.
Did you know BYOT Auto Parts is one of the largest buyers of used cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs in Central Texas? We'll buy your car today, running or not, and you'll get paid top dollar on the spot. Tired of pouring money into your car? We feel your pain. Got a vehicle that's just collecting dust? We'll pick it up for free and you still get paid. Looking for quality used auto parts? Look no further. At BYOT, bring your own tools and pull your own parts. Call or visit us online today.
BYOT Auto Parts. BYOT Auto Parts. Bring your own tools, pull your own parts.
Sleep cozy every night with fantastic fall mattress savings from Du Bois Furniture. Shop dream deals on a new Sealy Stearns & Foster or Tempur-Pedic mattress and save 10% off your new bedroom now at Du Bois Furniture.
Watch the Greg May Honda Extra Point High School Football Show every Friday night at 10.
Waco against Baylor Saturday night after their really impressive win against K-State. Kalani, you got a team that's rolling. I know it's week to week. Clear that, move on to what Baylor is and what you have ahead of you. But has this team kind of like been a mold of what you would love to put together? You're scoring in different ways. Your red zone offense and defense very highly ranked. You're just winning games.
Yeah, I mean it's all working out in terms of like our our level of execution. But I'll take the positive, however it may come. I think we have to be open to all three phases being able to work and putting it together and finding a way to get a win. So that's can't complain about it because I'm getting great effort from our players and the energy has been unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to us getting better. I mean, so far we've gotten better every week, and looking forward to improvement that we can make from last week to now.
When do you think the big confidence jump happened for you guys this year? Was it before the season started, or getting a couple of those wins under your belt kind of let you know that if you keep playing the style of football you're playing, you're going to be in every game and in control?
Well, I think just kind of knowing what to expect and being able to go through that last year, and the guys went through some adversity. There's a lot of people that doubt them, and they took the off season as an opportunity to just find ways to get better, however they can do it. And so I've been really impressed with them embracing the grind of the tough work and then making some sacrifices. You can't expect to just do the same thing this year that you did last year and hope for a different outcome. They had to make some sacrifices along the way. You have to pay the price in some ways, and you have to still do that in your daily life. And so they've done it in the off season. I'm excited that they're living discipline and doing things the right way, so we can get be in a position where we can play at our best, because we need them all to be at their best. And then if we can do that, we should have confidence getting on the field. We're excited about this matchup. We're excited about being back on the road again and getting out to Waco. And, I know Dave Aranda will have his team ready. So I know that Baylor will give us their best shot. My job is to make sure that we give everyone our best shot. And just happens to be our fifth game right now and on the road in Waco. And I'm excited. Hopefully we can get that done.
Coach, I know you're looking forward, but I do have to at least ask about just the elements of last week. You as a player, as a coach, I mean, you've seen a lot of the craziness there in Provo, but, I mean, that middle eight, I mean, that was as raucous of an environment, I think, as you're going to probably see in college football this year, with all of the big plays that happened. What was that like to be in the midst of all that as your team was starting to take over that game?
It was incredible, and I loved every part of it. I mean, I can get used to that, Yeah. But I think it was just one of those things with the momentum. We got it and then never relinquished it. And so I have to give a lot of credit to our players and the way they just stuck with it. It was easy during the game for guys to start pointing fingers, getting frustrated with one another. But we didn't see any of that. And then these guys have become a closer team, and they've bonded because of the things that we've been able to go through. Sometimes adversity does that for you. And so I think this is a close group of young men. This is one of the closer teams I've ever been around. Might be the closest team in terms of how much they care for each other and how they're willing to help each other and serve each other. So I think that when you have that type of dynamic, it should work out well where you can play, unselfish football, and guys are just going to do whatever it takes and relish the role that they have, even though it may be different than what they anticipated.
You had the nice start last year, and then we know it didn't finish very well. Was that kind of maybe made whatever happened in the end look a little bit different than it was? It was just a losing season. You guys just did not finish some games at the end?
Yeah, and I think some of it too is just all the little things matter. When you pile all those things up, it goes back to the fundamentals, and sometimes the answers can be as simple as ever. So the answers for us is just be really good at the simple things, and things that we should be make a big deal about. But you have to be careful that's not overriding. That's the only thing you care about. It's a combination of all the various factors that go into it. And then just to remind everyone that this is supposed to be a game, supposed to be fun. We play at our best when we have a good time. And part of your responsibility of being here is that you show appreciation to the ones that sacrifice to get you there. And you might as well have a good time while you're doing it. That's what parents want. That's what their loved ones want for them. And so when they go out and they do that, I think we can play a little loose and hopefully things go well for us. That's what we're trying to accomplish right now.
You had a quarterback competition that went right up until the end. And a lot of times that happens, and you kind of have a quarterback competition that goes right up until the end of the season because, you just don't have anybody that separates. What has happened since Jake became the starter that has allowed him so much to separate? Because he's played very, very well for you this season.
Yeah, from the beginning, I mean, the competition, and that's a huge compliment to Gary and to Jake, is that they pushed each other. I mean, they both got better. So it wasn't that one outperformed the other. They both raised their level of play. And then at the end of it, we had two quarterbacks that came out of it even better than they were going into the competition. So that's a good thing. I mean, but we had to make a decision on who's going to earn that right, who's going to earn the starting spot, and that was Jake. And we love Gary, and we know that we can count on him when and if his number is called. But in order for us to do this the right way, I only know one way. That's whoever earns the right gets it. And so the great thing about it is that Gary's been an ultimate professional in the whole thing, and what a great teammate, what a great young man. I love having him on the team, and he's a big part of our culture. Is that he comes in here with this non-entitled type of attitude, which he just wants to help and just want to do whatever he can to be a team player. And that does really well for competition, but it does really well when you have guys like that and how they handle the competition in such a professional manner. And they actually did it in a loving way. So we wouldn't be able to do this and have this type of culture if it weren't for young men like Gary Bohannon and Jake Retzloff.
When you made the decision and told Gary that, I like you just mentioned, what did he say at that time?
He was super positive and super. He was so complimentary of Jake and congratulating him, and so it's not what I expected. Because you know everyone's going to be can handle things in the right way, but he showed it. He showed it with his example. He's such a good Christ-like feature of person that follows the right way to do things. I mean, he's the exact example of what you wanted and how someone handles things when things don't go your way. All I've seen is a guy that it didn't go his way, and he works really hard at being as good as he can be for our team and in practices. So he continues to push Jake, he continues to push our team, and he continues to lead. I mean, he's one of our leaders. He was voted as a co-captain, both he and Jake, and that I mean, he continues to lead this team. We would not be in this position if it weren't for him.
Why is your defense playing so well right now, not only able to get turnovers, but to prevent touchdowns?
Yeah, I think it's just understanding the scheme and just trusting it. Last year, I don't know if everybody trusted it enough. That was our first year of implementing that scheme and our system, and the part of the process that everybody has to do their 1/11th, and it depends on one person doing their job and the next. And when things go well, is because everyone's doing their part. When people have an opportunity to freelance, which is sometimes what the old scheme was, giving a little bit more freedom to do certain things, it causes issues. And so we wanted to establish that right away, but you have to lay the foundation of doing it the right way first. And now that things have kind of worked out, I think the guys have bought into it. They understand a little bit more. They're more familiar with it. So the second year, I think they trust it a lot more. And I think Jay Hill and the defensive staff does an amazing job at getting these guys to trust and believe in each other.
Speaking of Jay Hill, you had that scare with the heart attack, and then he was discharged. Sometimes stories like that can really affect the team in different ways. It seemed like that ignited even more of the togetherness of him coming back as quickly as he did. Am I right?
Yeah, and it just puts things in perspective. I think when everybody coming out of football camp, everybody was so focused on football. It allowed us to kind of take a step back that, we almost lost our friend and the person that we care about. And you kind of relate to your own life. Like maybe we shouldn't be so focused on one thing, and we can kind of remember what all the things that matter in our life are, And so I don't know if what it did exactly, but I think it kind of put things in perspective for our players and even for me, in terms of like maybe it doesn't matter as much as you think it does, and the reason why we do things, instead of just about winning a game, it's about just getting out there performing and making people proud. And I'm glad Jay's doing better, and I think it's really hard for him to be up in the box and to make calls from there, but I can handle all the energy on the sideline, and I think that it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to. But I'm glad that he's with us, and I'm glad that he's here to lead. I'm glad the team responded in such a positive manner.
You and Dave Aranda very close. Gary Anderson and Dave very close. Both of you coming off the seasons that were last year. Did you and Dave talk much about any of that? I'm sure you guys get deeper than that, wins and losses, but that's part of your job. Did you guys discuss much about the tough year and how you move forward?
No, we didn't really specifically talk about that. I think when we talk, it's usually more about philosophy type of things, and we share some ideas and thoughts. But more than anything, it's just like I like talking to Dave because he's a really good man. He's a great person, and I like his friendship. I like what he represents. I like his. I just like the way he treats people, and I like being around him. So that's why I know he'll have this. I mean, I've been around him. We've been around each other in the coaching profession long enough, and we've done a lot of development. I've seen him do some really amazing things, but more importantly, I like the way he treats people, and that stuff matters, And that's why I know that this is an important game for us, because I know he'll have his team ready. He is the right man as far as his leadership and what he can do as a head coach. And so, I'm that was a heartbreaker last week, but I know that he's the right guy to lead them and get them turned around. I just need to make sure that my guys are ready for this, and that we had to just get them over the game already last week, and just like we got to move on. And I feel good about our preparation, but because I know Dave on a personal level, I know that this matters to him. I know that he loves his kids, and he'll get those guys ready to play.
We'll see you Saturday. You've been great to us. Hopefully we've been good to BYU too, since all the flirtation of what might happen even back in 21. It's been great to have you. Congratulations on the start. We'll see you Saturday in Waco. Thanks for your time, Kalani. Good luck. Congratulations, and have a great week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on, but I look way better on radio, so thank you.
Kalani Sitake, a friend of the show, and we love the guy, and the head coach at BYU with us. This is 365 Sports.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by Central Texas Plumbing Solutions and Bird Colgin Ford.
These are real people seeking solutions to real problems.
I have plantar fasciitis.
Pain with my feet, my knees. Feet, knees, hips, and back.
And then they were fit with Good Feet arch supports.
I definitely feel the heel-to-toe walk.
I'm not feeling any pain, especially in my heel. That's where I always feel it.
I don't feel the knee pain. I didn't notice any pain in my back. I feel like I could walk all day in these.
Oh, you're a blessing in disguise.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Listen up.
You've got 4 days and 4 days only to save like never before.
During the 4-day super sale at Furniture Row. That's 4 days where the more you buy, the more you save. Save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. No limit. You'll also find huge savings on sofas and sectionals, dining tables and chairs, bedrooms, mattresses, and much, much more. Plus, 48 months, no interest. But don't wait. The 4-day super sale at Furniture Row ends Monday.
Get 3.9% APR for 36 months plus $1,000 purchase allowance on most 2024 Cadillac models when you finance through Cadillac Financial.
We will also today hear from Ricky Thompson, former Baylor wide receiver who does Baylor Radio, the sideline reporter. He will join us today. And as I mentioned, a couple of notes from Dave Aranda as Baylor hosts BYU here in really just less than a couple of hours, less than 2 hours. Kickoff at just after 11 o'clock. Craig Smoak with me in studio. I'm David Smoak. Garrett Ross is running the mothership, as we say. So here are some, Greg Wrubell, voice of BYU, with some really, I love these type of nuggets. Kalani Sitake, BYU is 22-7 when playing against a ranked team. Dave Aranda at Baylor is 5-13 against top 25 teams, including the win against BYU back in 2021. Baylor is on, as Craig mentioned, a 9-game losing streak against ranked teams. And during that time, of course, that's also a loss in double overtime in 2022 to BYU. Got to win a game. Go win a game. And yes, it's not easy to beat ranked teams, but go win games. Here's another one, Craig. BYU, in their point totals, through the first 4 games, 13 points, Southern Illinois, 15 at SMU, 14 against Wyoming, and gave up 9 against the top 20 team in K-State with that explosive run game. Dave Aranda, when Baylor scores 20 points or less, 20 points or less, and BYU's not allowed anything more than 15, 0-13 as the head coach at Baylor.
Yeah, I think that's not surprising. I think if you did that for most teams not named Iowa, not scoring 20 points, your record's typically not going to be very good. And BYU, in those games they're winning, are scoring 38, 34, 41. They had 18 in the win over SMU. But, yeah, that's not going to be a good record for just about anybody not scoring 20 points in today's game. So, yeah, that's pretty damning for Dave Aranda, although I'm sure it would be for most coaches. But in general, you add all those stats up, and it's a program that has not won a big game that matters in a really long time. They've not won games like today's in a really long time, and you can say whatever you want to about the recruiting or this and that, but, I mean, bottom line is like these would get most coaches fired, these types of stats. And I think, you know, at this point, it's pretty clear what has to happen for Dave Aranda and company to be able to get the payoff of a recruiting class and get the benefits of the new facilities and all these different things. You got to go win football games. I mean, ultimately, you can have all these bells and whistles, but if you're 0-10, 0-11, 0-12 at home, people stop caring. We're seeing it already to some extent. I mean, you got to, like, basically go to people's houses and pull them out of their beds to get them to show up in McLean Stadium for a game, it feels like sometimes. And then when they do show up, like a couple of games ago, you know, it's a pretty good showing, but then as soon as you get a little bit of momentum after the win against Tarleton State, where you actually look pretty good in front of your home crowd, for one, it's Tarleton State, so who really cares that much, you know, other than, like, you got to win, you did what you were supposed to do, so you don't get a lot of credit for that, but then you turn right around and then you lose to Colorado in the fashion that you did. So every time you win a game, you've been unable to really follow that up with anything, and it's led to a complete lack of momentum, and I think it's led to some apathy, and I think it's led to a situation like today where, again, I keep saying it, but they have to win this game today. I don't think it's – if they look good. We've had too many games where it's like just be respectable. Like last week was a game where it was just be respectable. Like going to Boulder, late night, Shador and company, don't really know how the secondary is going to be, and you had a good showing, but you can't seal the deal. So, the whole just be there and look good and play hard and all that, that was last year. That was like a young group where you could say that, okay, well, at least they're young. They're going through the ups and downs. They're grown now. You brought in a bunch of veterans. There's no more moral victories for this football team, and I'm not trying to be too harsh about it. It's just that you feel it in the air. There has got to be something to give here for everybody involved, and they desperately need a win at home, and they need to beat a BYU team who is beatable, although, as you mentioned, has been very stingy on defense. They held SMU to 5 field goals. They then last week held Kansas State to 3 field goals. So in their 2 biggest matchups, they've given up 0 touchdowns. And we know this Baylor offense is not guaranteed to score a whole lot. So something's going to have to give there. But I think the big thing with Kansas State in particular was they made a bunch of mistakes. You can't shoot yourself in the foot the way Kansas State did in front of that crowd last week. Now, BYU won't have that advantage of that home crowd they had last week, although they will have a pretty big contingent. So I think if you're Baylor, just play a clean game and, hopefully be supercharged a little bit by your crowd. But, yeah, you got to go out there and perform really well today. And anything less than that is going to be another black eye on the Dave Aranda resume, and he can't really afford too many of those.
Listen, since 2010, Oklahoma has won, and they're gone, won 7 Big 12 titles. TCU split 1 in 14 with Baylor. Texas won last year. They're gone. Oklahoma State won 1 Big 12 title since 2010. K-State twice, including 2022 when they beat TCU, who eventually played for the national championship. Other than OU, nobody else has more Big 12 titles since 2010. That's a big, long trend. That's a long chunk of time. Baylor has 3, 13, 14, and 21. This is not a program with all the facilities they have and with all the money they spend and with all the commitment to football, including opening up that amazing football operations building, the Fudge Center yesterday, to just have moral victories. Go be a football team. Go win games. And if you can't, find somebody else who can, or find a way that you can win games, including today against top 25 BYU. So those are some notes. Here's another note from Greg Wrubell. When they, BYU, play into the 11 a.m. kickoff time from coming in from the Mountain Time, 10 a.m. for them, they're 2-12 in the last 14 FBS opponent day games. 2-14. And there's one loss after another. Now, they've lost to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, Texas, TCU, Kansas, at Liberty just 2 years ago, Notre Dame, Oregon, UAB 3 years ago. So they have been beaten. They're 2-12, playing 11 o'clock kicks coming in from the Mountain Time, the 1 hour difference, 2-12 under in the last, the 14 games getting back. Not that far. We're talking like the last 3 years. So they have had their issues moving and playing early in a time zone that's earlier than what they're used to.
And you would think that would come into play today. I mean, last weekend, a lot made about their crowd. It was a late kick out in Provo, which is the Mountain Time Zone, which is different than obviously the Central Time Zone here by an hour. But a late night kickoff, and those are the types of stats where you almost like see Baylor like losing that. Like they're going to be the third team that had that happen, and that's the trend with this program is they're defying the stats and they're being the team that is that 2 out of 15 or whatever times that it does happen. But I think that's another reason why today is a must win. You've got them early, you've got them at home, you got them in Texas and not out in the mountains, and all of those things aren't going to be factors that ultimately like pivot this game in your direction, but I do think there are things on your side that, along with the other things that hopefully you have up your sleeve, should have this lean in your – I mean, home field should matter. It mattered for BYU last week. It hasn't mattered for Baylor in a really long time. So, yeah, these aren't the vampire Cougs on a late Saturday night or a late Friday night that we saw last week. It's just regular old BYU. They're not going to have that same type of extra juice, but I do think they're coming in with a lot of confidence, and they're going to have a little bit of a a crowd backing them and supporting them. And so, I think it's going to be a tough test, but ultimately, like, what else do you need if you're Dave Aranda and Baylor? Like, what is it going to take? If it can't be at home after a brutal, like, motivated by a loss and, weather's in your favor and all these different things, like, what does it take to win a game like today's? Like, what has to be in your favor? Do they need to play all second stringers for you to get a win like today? So, yeah, I think being at home, I think kicking early, I think that matters. So just chalk that up to another reason why this should be a competitive game and a good showing for Baylor.
All right, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports and KWTX Game Day Live. We're going to come back and look at the Big 12 schedule. There was one top 25 game last night, Miami and Virginia Tech with a crazy ending. We'll get to that. And a note about Alabama. Fourth-ranked Alabama hosting second-ranked Georgia, and the season and where they are when it comes to ticket sales and the price of that game. This is Game Day Live.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Score big savings at the Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Carr Buick, a first-year All-American and a 2024 Car and Driver Magazine Editor's Choice. The all-new Buick Envista starts at only $23,990. Or make the winning drive in a 2024 Buick Encore GX SUV and save $4,000 for non-GM car owners. Qualified buyers get 0.9% financing and no payments for 90 days. Score your deal at the Kickoff to Savings event going on now at Richard Carr Buick.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Make Camp Fimfo the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Fimfo Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown and Baylor University. Voted the #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Fimfo Waco.
Get ready, Baylor fans. The ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with the Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
All right, the Big 12 today. There are two 11 o'clock kicks. The one we've discussed, BYU on the road against Baylor. That game is on FS1. And then also one that's kind of a bounce back. I like two teams that got thumped last week. Oklahoma State at the end made their game with Utah look a lot better than it was. And then Kansas State getting bruised by BYU. They will kick off two top 25 teams. Loser most likely out of the top 25. That game's at 11. TCU at Kansas. Talk about teams that need a win after TCU was embarrassed by SMU, and then KU losing that game late to West Virginia. Colorado at UCF, game day with probably their biggest crowd. I think I've seen that on the Twitter feed ever at UCF in Orlando. That's on Fox. Iowa State, Houston, 6 o'clock kick, plus Cincinnati Tech tonight, and Arizona at 10th-ranked Utah very late on ESPN.
Yeah, that's big noon kickoff at UCF, not college game day.
That's right. Okay, yeah. So that, but I've been told, I saw that it's the largest college big noon kickoff crowd, and remember, they were at Columbus, Ohio last week for the Ohio State game. So teams that are trying to bounce back, a lot of them, including a couple of the higher-ranked teams in the Big 12 with Oklahoma State, K-State, and trying to find a way to get back in the win column. Craig, any thoughts about any of those games today in the Big 12?
Yeah, I've got thoughts about just about all of them, but
just a couple of them in particular.
I think that Kansas State and Oklahoma State, like you said, the losers probably out of the top 25. Certainly K-State would be out. They would only need to fall 2 spots, and so that would certainly happen. But in Manhattan, the slight favorites, I don't really know what to expect. Both teams have been very up and down this year, and so somebody will be taking an 0-2 start into next week as far as Big 12 play goes, and that'll be very interesting to see who that is. So, there's both teams that are just kind of teetering and digging themselves a little bit of a hole or trying to dig out of a small hole and not make it a larger one. So that's a very interesting game. I think TCU and Kansas is a must-win for both sides. Kansas already has 3 losses. They're staring 1-4 in the face, and they're at home, whereas TCU is looking at 2-3, but both teams, again, trying to avoid being 0-2 in the Big 12. So those 2 games right there, everybody, all 4 of those teams looking for a win and looking to avoid already having a couple, if not in Kansas's case, 4 losses potentially. So, yeah, those are a couple that I think are the bigger ones. And then Colorado UCF I'm also looking forward to because of what we saw from Colorado last week, the big crowd that you mentioned at Big Noon Kickoff. UCF looks like they might be one of the better teams in the league. I don't think beating Colorado would prove that necessarily, but going to 2-0 in the Big 12 and 4-0 overall would be a big deal for the Knights, and then you start to think about them as a top 25 team potentially. And we know the Bounce House is a tough place to play, so that's a good game for them to get a little bit of rub and some spotlight.
The top 10 today, we'll get to that Alabama-Georgia game in a moment. Last night, Miami beat Virginia Tech 38-34. Last-second touchdown by Virginia Tech. Hail Mary that looked like was caught. The ACC came back and overruled it. The replay said no. Their reasoning was during the review process of the touchdown, the player at Virginia Tech at Miami, it was determined the loose ball was touched by a Miami player while he was out of bounds, which makes it an incomplete pass and immediately ends the play. It was a scrum in the back of the end zone. I wondered about whoever may have been touched or out of bounds in the white stripe, and Miami comes away with a win 38-34. Almost a great moment for former Baylor quarterback Kyron Drones. All right, top 25, there you see the game. Let's go to a note about Alabama and Georgia. This is from StubHub. The best-selling game ticket of the year, even surpassing that Texas-Michigan game by 20% when it comes to value. Outselling StubHub's top-selling game even a year ago, that Michigan and Ohio State clash. And Alabama and Georgia ticket buyers are coming from 49 of the 50 states. I'm not sure if that means Hawaii got in there or Alaska got in there, but somebody did. One of those two is this game tonight, 6:30, the kickoff in Tuscaloosa. I really look forward to being able to do what we do this morning, watch the game, post-game Garrett and I after BYU Baylor, and then watch 2 really good teams tonight. I have no idea what might happen. Look forward to what I hope is a great game.
Yeah, should be a colossal showdown. A lot of build-up for that this week, and certainly somebody will take a slight edge in the SEC race. We'll see, Texas also in that mix amongst others. But, whoever wins today certainly has a leg up and a massive win on their resume.
Oklahoma, by the way, at Auburn, and everyone has seen the injury reports. Every wide receiver they have on the 2 deep except like one and then maybe a half a player that might be available in their game at Auburn who has struggled. Of course, Oklahoma's offense has struggled too. They go to the freshman Hawkins, the quarterback, on a road trip to play in Auburn. Also, a couple other top teams playing in the top 25. You have Illinois at number 9, Penn State. Illinois 19th in the country. That's another game. Plus Louisville and Notre Dame will play at 2:30, 15 against 16. South Bend, Louisville is on a bus trip because of the weather of Hurricane Helene has interrupted and in some cases canceled games, Appalachian State, Liberty, among others. When we come back, Ricky Thompson, former Baylor wide receiver, Baylor sideline analyst, Dave Aranda too. This is Game Day Live.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
You know, ever since we scored that annuity from SBJST, we've never had to worry about retirement.
I've never been worried.
I'm worried about our retirement. I think we need to call SPJST and set up that annuity.
I already did.
SPJST Annuities. With guaranteed growth and income to last your entire life. It's easier than hindsight.
Good call, honey.
SPJST. Growing wealth for Texas families since 1897.
At Jeff Hunter Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we build relationships. For more than 30 years, we've proudly served the Waco community, sharing Toyota's commitment to quality and embodying Waco values every step of the way. From our friendly sales team to our expert service technicians, our priority is always you, our valued customer. Shop Jeff Hunter Toyota or go to jeffhuntertoyota.com. Jeff Hunter Toyota. Toyota quality, Waco values.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Watch the Greg May Honda Extra Point High School Football Show every Friday night at 10.
Radio sideline analyst, former receiver with the Bears, and also NFL wide receiver with Washington, joins us.
Ricky, how do they go about emotionally picking themselves up off the mat? Because they had that game won and dead to rights, and this is something that has happened a few times over the last couple years. It gave me memories of the TCU game a couple years ago where TCU calmly walked out onto the field with the clock running and kicked a game-winning field goal. It's just these things keep on kind of happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and because it's the most recent, I think this was, to me, more gut-wrenching than the TCU game. I mean, that was a really, really good football team in TCU that you had on the ropes, 28-26. I'm not saying Colorado's not good. I think they've got some talent, but that was a game that I thought really during the game, for some reason, I was never fearful of losing that one. Once the game was underway and I saw the way our defensive line was playing, the pressure they were putting on Sanders, I really thought we'd figure out a way to win that game. And that was all the way down to 2 seconds to go, to tell you the truth. But, I don't know what the answer is, but it's football, and you've got another game next week, and you've seen teams do it time and time again, where it looks like they're just down and out for the count, and they come back and win a big ball game. But I think this game now with BYU is very critical, because you do not want to go to 2-3 with a road trip to Iowa State the next week. So this is a very critical game for this team. It's at home, and frankly, it's just one that they need to go out and win.
Ricky, this week they're playing a team that is feeling confident. Everything's working for BYU. They just throttled Kansas State. They beat a good SMU team earlier this year. They're making teams kind of muddy the waters and play the way that they want them to. They had no expectations this year from even people around their program. And here they're sitting 4-0. Now, they're not very good in day games, and they're not great on the road, but they have confidence right now, and Baylor's got to find some of that. Is that what makes this game really dangerous? Because BYU is not going to out-athlete most of the teams they play, but they seem very fundamentally sound and can really make you kind of not do what you want to do.
Well, I can simplify that. They're 4-0, and they beat Kansas State 38-9. So those two things alone put some doubt into me about what you can do against them and what you can't. You're right. I read the stats. Those early morning games are killers for them. In fact, I don't think they've won one. And that's tough when you're flying east and you play at 10 o'clock in the morning your time. It's on the road. I know BYU will have a lot of fans there, but it's still on the road. And I think that we probably match up pretty well with these guys. So I don't know. The opening line was, 2.5 Baylor? Mm-hmm. So somebody thinks something out of this. And I think we're good enough to beat a 4-0 BYU team if we play our game. And I think in that perspective, the game Saturday made me feel even more confident about that, because I didn't think there was any way we would get to Shedeur Sanders like we did. I mean, I knew we would try to put pressure on him, but guys, we had him running for his life all night long. And I think he's as good as advertised. He made some plays on us, but he also bit the dust quite often during the night. That doesn't count the hits that he took when we didn't sack him. So I think that BYU is a game we should win. I think we've got the talent to win it. We're just going to have to make plays, and it's really simple. You just have to have guys that make plays when the play is presented to them. They've got to make the play, and that's what we're going to have to do Saturday. Yeah,
the defense could have made a play there at the end. He could have made a field goal on special teams that would have made that a 2-score lead, and the Hail Mary would have been irrelevant. And offensively, you mentioned the Ashton Hawkins play, but I want to focus there. Just what are you seeing right now with Sawyer Robertson in charge? Obviously still very hard to run the football, but is this good enough to win games moving forward? Is it better than how they start? Just like, where are you right now with what you see from Jake Spavital and that offense, and what you need to see kind of moving forward?
I thought Sawyer was really good in the first half. I thought maybe he slipped a little bit in the third quarter, and then I thought he came back and played pretty well in the fourth. But if you would have asked me before these two games that he's played, I think I'd take it. I think he'll get better and better. You think about Sawyer, he doesn't have a lot of experience as a healthy quarterback. We've talked about it before. He had the ankle last year, which I thought really killed him. I guarantee you he doesn't go 40-something yards on 4th and 2 for a touchdown last year. He couldn't do it. He couldn't plan. He couldn't run. So I'm encouraged by his ability to run the ball. I think the throwing game's got to get a little bit better. You can't fault Sawyer, though, for a throw that would have been another 60 yards passing on his account if a receiver just makes a catch. So that's not on Sawyer. So I think offensively we've got the ability. The running game, I thought struggled. I know we were still well over 100 yards, but 80 of that was your quarterback. So they're going to have to figure out something there to improve on that side. But I tell you what, guys, Colorado was better defensively than I thought, and they had said all along that they were pretty decent defensively, or Colorado had said that, and I think they were. I thought their front guys were pretty tough, not a bad defensive football team, but you still have to find a way to run the ball. But I thought the last 2 weeks that Spav has been able to open up his offense a little bit, call some plays that we didn't maybe run first couple of weeks. So that's encouraging, and I think that continues to open up as time goes and you really figure out which running back you want back there. I still say Washington is a guy that's got to play, and Pendergrass hadn't played a lot lately. I think he is, and there are times when Richard Reese needs to be in there too with that speed. So I just think they're still figuring it out offensively. I really do. On the defensive side, I think our schemes have been pretty good.
Thanks for your time, Ricky. Appreciate your time. Ricky Thompson, former Baylor receiver, played in the NFL with Washington, and the sideline reporter.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by Central Texas Plumbing Solutions and Bird Colgin Ford.
You got 4 days, and 4 days only to save like never before.
during the 4-day super sale at Furniture Row. That's 4 days to save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. Plus, 48 months, no interest. But hurry, the 4-day super sale at Furniture Row ends soon.
Get 3.9% APR for 36 months plus $1,000 purchase allowance on most 2024 Cadillac models when you finance through Cadillac Financial.
If you need a system repair or replacement, call the good folks at Clark Heating and Air Conditioning. They're family owned and operated since 1999 and offer best of the best installation, maintenance, and customer service. Being Waco's Tempstar Elite dealer, they have the best warranties and financing options. The Clark team is knowledgeable, well-trained, and ready to serve you. Call Clark Heating and Air Conditioning today and see why they're Waco's Tempstar Elite dealer.
Dreaming of the delightful drowsiness of the perfect mattress? Then the 4-day super sale is for you. Save $100 on every $1,000 you spend, plus 48 months no interest and free shipping. Score sweet savings on some serious shut-eye only at Denver Mattress.
By the way, we will have a post-game show following Baylor and BYU. Garrett, Craig, and I will be at the game. And then near the end of the game, depending on what's going on, Garrett and I then filter back over and here in studio for what will be an interview with a player following the game with Moai. And also, we'll take some calls and get you in the show. So we'll do that today following as soon as the game goes live. As soon as the game goes live, as far as the game is final, we will start the post-game show here. And thanks to Richard Carr Motors, Buick GMC, Cadillac, your friends in the car business. So Dave Aranda spoke with the media earlier today. And
this week.
Earlier this week, not today. And on Monday, following that gut-wrenching kick in the you-know-what loss in Boulder. And starts out with, how are they going to do this one first, Garrett? How are they going to bounce back? How are they going to bounce back where they are as they get focused on a team that's 4-0 coming in after a win against the top 25 team and themselves, BYU, in the top 25?
After the UCF win last year, you said that football is a game of random events and setbacks. And Colorado was both of those. Like, how do you actually respond? Like, what is the physical response? What do you want that to look like?
Yeah, I mean, to start fast, to have energy on the sideline, to compete to the next time that we get punched in the face, to bring our hands back up and throw a punch in return. I think, what's the struggle with losses like that is that, prior to having an experience like that, when there's a fight going on, everyone runs to the line to get in the fight. I mean, we're shoulder to shoulder, After something like that happens, when your heart's taken out, that hurts. And so you don't want to get hurt again. And so it can be where there's a fight going on. There used to be somebody right here shoulder to shoulder with me, and now where are they? Where'd they go? And so that is not something I feel is going to happen with this team. I feel the overall sense of urgency to get it right. And we got a great opponent, just looking ahead to really challenge us and bring out the best in us.
Coach, has Sawyer played his way into that starting quarterback role for the future?
I'm excited about Sawyer. I thought he really played well. I thought that, there was some, early on, I mean, everyone we played us some press man. And so there was, the running lanes were tight. The throwing windows were tight. He was throwing us open on a couple back shoulders. And then, the +1 quarterback run game really had to be kind of the answer there for a little bit. And he was doing that. And then to manage us through kind of where we got stalled out a little bit to push through on the other side, a lot of that was Sawyer's leadership. And so really confident in him And I think he's getting better with each start.
Craig, I was on Salt Lake City, a couple of different stations earlier this week, and they kept asking me about DeQuan Finn. DeQuan Finn is not the starter for Baylor football. Sawyer Robertson is. The injury to Finn obviously led to Sawyer having this opportunity, and maybe eventually he would have just overtaken Finn after the loss to Utah. But it doesn't seem like there is no quarterback competition. This is now Sawyer Robertson. How long can he run with this? How long can he go with this? And I don't even think there's a discussion about DeQuan Finn. He's there. He started practicing a couple of weeks ago, but to me, that's not even a discussion.
No, I don't think it's been a discussion for a week or so now, but I understand why it's still of interest to people because Finn was a big-name guy in the offseason that they went and picked out of the portal to be their starting quarterback, but we saw how long that quarterback competition lasted, and that started to raise your eyebrows a little bit as far as how close is this thing actually. Instead of this is Finn's team, it's, okay, whose team is this? And then kept going, and he was finally named the starter almost by default, but didn't play well enough in the first couple of games to really make you think that this was his job or bust. It made you feel like we needed to see a little bit of Sawyer Robertson. The injury opened that door probably sooner than it would have otherwise, and I think that Sawyer's done enough in the couple of games that we've seen him now at the helm to continue to be that guy, like you said, until he plays his way out of that job. Not this guy plays 2 series, that guy plays 2 series. I mean, that's not what it is. It's Sawyer Robertson's team right now, and I don't know when we see DeQuan Finn again. Knock on wood. Hopefully it's not for any reason other than, blowout time here in a game like today's. But I think Sawyer's done a good job. I think you look back at last week, there's certainly things you could have back, but what if Ashton Hawkins catches a pass? They win that game.
Mm-hmm.
What if you make a field goal? You win that game. What if you defend the Hail Mary correctly once, if not twice? You win that game. So they played well enough, I think, offensively to win that game last week, and yet there's still far more meat on the bone than they've shown thus far. They got to have a better showing this week and the next week and the next week. This offense is far from above average. It's still, I think, finding its way and very middle of the road, but we've seen some signs that they can be better than that, and Sawyer's been a big part of the reason why.
Well, you know what? I think he's handled the offense. He's made some throws on the out 15 to 18 yards just above the linebacker, or even if it's a safety to wide receivers on the sideline. He has handled the offense. He's managed it well and has not had that catastrophic mistake, and he can't. They're not good enough to be able to overcome many of those. But you brought something up earlier, and we'll hear more from Dave Aranda in a minute. It is time to take the kid gloves off this football program. It is time to stop acting about how they feel. It is time for them to go out and act like a football team. It's time for them to go play a game, beat somebody, as you mentioned, that's relevant, and not just a Tarleton State or Air Force when they're very young. Go out and Dave Aranda said, start fast. That's a given. Energy on the sideline. That should not even be a discussion. Where's the internal leadership, which said they're not going to let this thing slide into 3-9 after the devastating loss? I see a little bit of that. I didn't see much of that at all last year. And then punch back when they've been punched. To me, those are things that don't even need to be said. Just go play football and compete and go find a way to win.
Well, I think they've had energy on the sidelines. I think they've had some back-and-forth fight, but I just don't think they know how to finish, and that's the big thing. Last week, they didn't finish that ball game, and many other instances over the last couple of years of where they didn't finish. The greatest play, one of them in Baylor football history, is the big goal line stand against Oklahoma State, and that's about the last time I feel like we saw them finish a football game. I know there's probably an example or two here and there, but that was a team that had a lot of veterans on it and thrived for the big moment in the big game, and that was 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago now at this point, and we haven't seen any semblance of that. So I understand last year they were younger. You had to kind of raise them up. They had to mature and things like that. I understand you just say kind of coach speak things, but yeah, I'm kind of at the point now where it's, I've said as many things and been as patient as anybody can possibly be, but you look at the stats. You look at 0-9 against top 25 teams in your last 9 games. You look at the lack of big wins. You look at the lack of big performances, and it's just time. It's It's no more of these emotions and this. It's just time to go win a freaking game. Go finish a game and then move on from there. But, yeah, the time for talking about it and wondering, like, just go and execute and finish, and it's beyond overdue at this point.
Kickoff in less than 30 minutes. Here's Dave Aranda on the fact they're at home, 11 o'clock kick against nationally ranked BYU.
Expecting that on Saturday?
Yeah, anytime we get that type of support, I think there's a kind of a feeding off of it that we get, whether that's on defense or whether that's after an offensive big play, and the sidelines kind of get going because the student section's going crazy and you can hear the roar from the crowd. And so we're all pushing for that. I mean, we have to be able to win games to be able to get that. And so I'm hopeful Saturday morning that we've got ourselves a good crowd. I think the team we're playing is a physical team. The quarterback's taking the next steps, and he's an effective, efficient passer. I think he's scary on the run. There are a lot of zone read and keeps off of the reads. I think they've got good skilled people. They can body you up and make a contested catch. They got guys that can run away from you. And so the O-line is the deal that sticks out the most to me, is that they're a veteran group and they played a lot together, and it shows on tape. It's going to test us. And so, yeah, it's going to be a battle. I think it'd be a good game to take in. We're looking to play our best.
Dave, with morning practices, now you get a morning kickoff this week. Is that a factor at all?
It'd be awesome, yeah. That'd be good. That'd be good. I understand. I have to believe from maybe another perspective. The morning games are probably tough to maneuver, but all of us are up way early, and to get up and just play football is something that I think we're getting accustomed to, and I think we got the most energy when it's that way. And so I think to be able to have a morning game like that, I think our guys do like that, and they look forward to it.
Dave, what specifically have you seen from BYU, offense, defense?
Defensively and offensively, line of scrimmage. I think they're physical up front. I think defensively, they're really, they remind me of West Virginia a year ago, when West Virginia really previous would, twist this, stunt that, blitz this, and then last year they played a little bit more quieter and a little bit more structured, and really played better. I see BYU the same way. And, I think offensively, a lot of shifts and motions, probably similar in some ways to Utah's plan of attack. They'll get it to where they can out leverage you, and, a lot of backs and pistol, backs and gun, backs and far, splits are condensed, splits are wide, a lot of formations to work with and work through. And so they'll get you looking at all different types of things, and they'll run it right down your.
That's Dave Aranda on BYU. The game kicks off here at about 45 minutes. So, by the way, game last night in the Big Ten, Rutgers beat Washington 21-18. They're 4-0. Washington in the national championship game a year ago, they are 3-2. Craig, wrap it up. Your thoughts about BYU Baylor.
I think this ought to be a really close game, a slobber knocker, if you will. I think it's going to be a real test for the Bears. I think it's a test that they can pass if they can finish and they can execute. And a big part of what BYU's been able to do against their better opponents is turn them over and force them to stops on fourth downs, and the Baylor offense is just going to have to play a really clean game, and then defensively, don't allow BYU to be something they're not. They're not some great offensive team. They're really not. So I think you just got to play your regular game.
This is Game Day Live. Baylor and BYU postgame follows when the game ends.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly. Getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
I did know that back pain, foot pain come along with the job of waiting tables.
This is Tony.
Things that I've tried have failed.
And this is Tony's Good Feet story.
Before my arch supports, I felt defeated, but since getting the arch supports from the Good Feet store, I have had no pain, which still is kind of crazy to me. I'm more positive. It's like opening up a whole new life, like sunshine coming out. I would recommend it to anyone. You've tried everything that's not working, give it a try.
See how we can help you too at the Good Feet store.
The right call can make all the difference on and off the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. When it's that time for your next car, truck, or SUV, Bird Colgin Ford is the right call. Check out the F-150, America's #1 truck, 47 years in a row. Now with 3.9 for 60, plus additional savings. Make the right call with your next vehicle at Bird Colgin Ford. Experience better at BK Ford.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Watch the Greg May Honda Extra Point High School Football Show every Friday night at 10.